Hello, everyone.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. Hello, hello, hello. How are you today?
I am doing okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Doing well. You've made it in.
Made it in.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
Long ride?
Yeah.
Not really. Anyway. Glad to see you here, though.
Look at my hair. It's weird.
It's because you decided to stay home and to be healthy yesterday, and now today it's like, meh. Your video is going to be weird on that kind of computer. Just expect that. Everything else is running fine. Just ignore that part of it.
All right.
You need that for the comments, which we're getting. Thank you for saying hi.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome to Warm N Cozy Quilting.
Yeah, I don't know the last time that I stayed home from work.
Willingly?
Right.
Mm.
Well, I don't know that it was willing yesterday. You were like,
really
no,
was
you ain't even going.
Your choices were, and I told this to a couple customers, I said, your choices were, one, go home and get better, or try to feel a little better because you're going to be here all day today.
Right.
Or come in today and just be miserable all day long.
Yeah.
Really, the options weren't great.
Not great.
Anyway, we're glad you're here.
Thanks.
Hope you're going to feel all right. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. We have a fun conversational topic today.
It's
accuracy.
Accuracy.
That's accurate. You should have said that. You should have said, that's accurate.
Yeah.
That's what you should have said. That'd have been funny.
I mean, is it really fun? I mean, it is fun.
I think it's a learning topic, for sure.
I think it's important.
It is important. It's not like you're all doing it wrong. I can't believe this.
No.
It's really more of how do
we get better?
Right.
How do we make sure that things are the way that
doing
we
what
want
they
them
should
to?
do, all the things. Anyway, do you want to say hi to some people over there?
Yeah. So we've got good morning, Deborah and Debbie, aka Mom.
Hello.
Then good morning to Kathy and Patty. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
Hello, Carol, and good morning to Jane. Robin is here, and good morning to Karen.
Hello and good day, and thank you for saying hello as I drink my coffee. I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this to get it out there. So on Wednesday, I was dodgy about the conversation.
Yeah.
But the conversation was that we were mentioned briefly on a morning radio talk show.
Yeah, that was fun.
How fun was that?
Right.
Okay, so if you don't know, I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans here because it's fun.
Yeah.
On Wednesday morning, there's a country station in the St. Louis area. If you're not familiar with it, it's WIL.
Right.
It's 92.3 for those of you non-country listening folks, which I am one of those. That made mention of a quilt shop in Columbia, Illinois.
Yeah. That's us.
That's us.
What?
That would be us is who they were referring to.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Well, what happened was the day before, the customer came in with her daughter. Mm-hmm. And the customer's looking to make a quilt for her daughter. Right. And,
regular customer.
No big deal, whatever. Yeah. And a typical, mother quilter, daughter hanging out with her. The daughter's not really a quilter, just kind of like taking it all in. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really, throw a whole lot of information to her because I don't like to overwhelm the customers or, the non-quilters. And anyway, it turns out that the daughter is a radio personality.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I seemed unwilling to talk to you. It's nothing personal.
No,
I didn't want to overwhelm. But anyway, we got mentioned that way. That was fun. Yeah. And I was mentioned because her co-host goes, "Were there any dudes there?" She goes, "Yeah.
Yeah. I was like a main guy.
Right. Like I'm like the guy. So it's been said on the radio. I'm the main guy. Sorry, guys. Yeah. I am all things quilting now. That's my official title by a radio host. So that's fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about your luck. That's my job now. I am the guy. I'm the main guy.
But yeah, she was really surprised that we have, such a big
so much space here and all the things happening. Yeah, it was a good time though. But anyway, it's fun meeting her. Maybe she'll come back and maybe learn to quilt.
That would be fun.
Anyway,
awesome.
It could happen. All right, so before we dive into the whole accuracy conversation, more people that need to say hi to.
Yeah, good morning, Joyce and Joanne. Julie has joined us.
Hello.
Good morning to Vicky and also to Christy.
Hello. And good morning from the YouTubes. Yes, you can watch us on YouTube. We're over there now. We're streaming live on both places. So
you can
it's
watch
safer in YouTube world sometimes. Just don't forget to hit that subscribe button while you're over there.
Right.
It helps us out. All right. So a couple things to make sure you're aware of before we dive in. Handy Quilter Van event. We have an educational event coming up. Mm-hmm. I have February 27th to 28th.
Right.
Sold out. March 1st and 2nd, sold out. Except I think one spot has opened.
Right, because they switched to the other class.
Because they switched to my third event class, which
because, hold on, wait, we only had 2 events.
I only had the 2 days initially.
But then we got very lucky.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because we had already sold 24 spots. Boom.
Boom.
In like a week. Mm-hmm. That we were able to get another 2-day event.
We're going to bring another educator in. Her name's Karen Arnold.
Yes.
She was an educator like in the school systems for like 30 years. So she's retired now and she's doing the handy quilter education stuff. Her name's Karen Arnold. Super nice lady. I got to talk to her. Super sweet.
Yeah.
Can't wait to have her here for class. But she's going to be here the 6th and the 7th, which is again
March
2 days
6th and 7th,
work. She's actually going to be here for the 8th as well, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's a workshop day that's completely sold out.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people are excited. People want to get back to doing things and get classes.
Yeah.
I never expected classes during the week to sell out
as fast as
they have. It's crazy to me. For those of you that are week or actual working jobs, I'm so sorry.
Right.
We hopefully maybe I can get some weekend classes already been scheduled down the rest of the year. But anyway, if you're looking for a long arm or if you've been interested in the idea of a long arm and you want to learn more before you actually own one.
Right. Because it's a big deal.
It's huge. It's not cheap. You're not just, giving me $20 and here's a machine for you. It's an investment.
There's a lot of learning.
So if you're interested, we do have seats left on March 6th and 7th. Monday, Tuesday.
Right.
You can go to our website and sign up for that. Please do. It'll be a great time. I promise.
Yes. Do it before it sells out.
Okay, so.
Also, we kept the price low. We weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
Remember it was going to be the $150 just to the end of the month.
I've kept it at $150. We
kept it at $150.
Right, so it's a $300 2-day event. Lunch is included. It is worth every bit of $300.
Yes.
I put it super low because I want people to be able to get in here and give these a test drive and really get a feel for it. So absolutely worth checking out. Also, don't forget, if you haven't voted for your favorite local quilt shop yet.
Did you?
I did. Did you?
I did not.
Anyway, By Annie's is hosting a vote for your favorite local quilt shop. Your local quilt shop will win some stuff at the end of this voting time.
That would be awesome.
It runs until March 8th, so you still have time to vote if you haven't. You can only vote once per your email. So when you put your email, so you're going to put your name, your email address, and then why they're your favorite shop.
Right.
That's you entered. That's it. You can't go and do it again with the same email address. Now, if you are operating like 3 or 4 different emails, because let's be honest, who doesn't have more than one? Go ahead and do that.
Nice.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I've also read that they are going to validate email addresses, which means that they're probably going to send out some sort of, hey, are you real? And you may have to make sure you click on that so that your vote still counts. So be mindful of that.
I think if they got several from the same kind of name, they might check.
Possibly. They're just really trying to make sure that this is a genuine vote response, that you are a customer, that you're excited about who you voted for. So if you haven't voted, go do it. I see a lot of people saying they did.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I also want to address this. Kathy says we don't freeze up on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, that it's much smoother than it is on Facebook. So
that's wild.
If you have any issues on Facebook, jump over to YouTube. Watch us there.
We love YouTube.
Yeah.
They're so much more fun. And we're searchable over there.
Right.
Okay. A couple more things. What's up?
Good morning, Wendy, Dolores, and some people have voted.
Thank you. St. Louis area Metro Shop Hop.
Right. That is the whole month of March.
The entire month of March.
Yes.
So from March 1st to March 30 something.
First.
30, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, 31st. Yeah.
Anyway, there's 5 shops participating this year. We've got Quilted Fox. You've got Your Quilt Shop. You've got Cut and Sew.
Right.
Which is down in DeSoto.
No,
not DeSoto. Bonterre.
Right.
Sorry, my bad. Itchin' to be Stitchin'. And then, us, your favorite quilt shop, because we're the best. Maybe. I don't know. I like to think so.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, that runs all month. Now, unlike the last couple years where it's been kind of, every shop was kind of doing a little bit something different, we're getting back to the driving purpose of quilt shop hops, the community purpose of it all.
Right? Let's come see all of us.
It's a mystery quilt.
It's a mystery quilt.
It's a mystery quilt. Each shop is going to have different parts of the process. You're going to pick up the pattern from each one of them.
You cannot get the finishing and the how to set it together and the whole reveal unless you've done all 5 and you turn in your finished passport.
When you turn in your passport, you get the how to finish those pieces together. Yep. How cool is that?
It's so cool.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
And the pattern for the mystery quilt was written by your mother.
Yeah.
Your very own mom.
My very own mom.
The one you have. Debbie, go ahead. Yeah. High five, Debbie. Way to go. I look forward to I've seen what it looks like. It's beautiful. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not small.
No, queen size.
It's going to be a big quilt. So it's going to be worth the time and effort. So for sure. And again, having all month to go do that.
Right. All month. So it's not like you have to try to get to all of these shops in, 2 days, 4 days, nothing like that. Because we are a little bit spread out now. If you look at where Staunton,
that's
I mean, that's a little bit of a drive. So we give you an entire month to make that happen. And so it'll be a lot of fun. There's tons of prizes.
Yeah.
It's going to be very exciting.
It's going to be absolutely worth it. I believe there's a Facebook group as well for this group as well that you can go and join and keep up to date on what the happenings are. So worth doing and joining and having fun with that. And last and certainly not least, March 18th and 19th.
Right.
There's going to be a quilt show put on the Bits and Pieces Quilt Guild.
Right.
Over at Queenie Park, St. Louis area, if you're not local.
So I have never been to a show at Queenie Park, sorry to say.
That's
but
okay.
I mean, they do this every other year. You would think that somewhere along the way I would have made it over there, but I have not.
We work all the time, so...
So I'm excited that we're going to go vend there. And
yeah, we're going to be there. It'll be fun. We're going to bring some machines, show them off.
I'm sure we'll do a video while we're there.
Probably do a video while we're there. So that's in a couple weeks yet. That's all a month away, but start planning now.
Right.
Be there. All right. Any major questions or concerns or anything we need to address before we dive farther into this crazy
My mom's
content?
high-fiving you.
Way to go. Oh, I did. I did the act. I was a high five.
Right.
All right. So, accuracy. It's like horseshoes and ham grenades. I said ham, not grenade. Oh, wait. I did say grenades.
Yeah.
Well.
Right.
It's okay.
Anyway. He's so silly.
Ham grenades.
Ham grenades.
So when it comes to accuracy in quilting, we just have to get close, right? We don't have to be like spot on exact every time.
No,
yes?
Wrong.
No. Maybe?
You do need to be on. You need to be as close to right as you can.
If I can't get to perfect, do I have to quit sewing right now?
No.
Okay. You sure?
I'm sure.
Because I'll stop piecing right now. I won't do it ever again.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying.
I've pretty much claimed this multiple times.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I do feel, first of all, there are some patterns that you don't have to be as accurate.
Oh, absolutely.
There's
some intentionally wonky looking.
Very, very forgiving patterns.
Forgiving is a great phrase.
And there are some that you better be spot on.
Those are ones that we like to refer to as don't start there.
Right.
That's
That's why I really love to teach the quick trip class.
Yeah.
Because it is you just need to be consistent.
Right.
You could be at a 1/4 inch. You could be close to a 1/4 inch. As long as you're consistent all day, your quilt's going to turn out just fine.
Right.
It's going to turn out beautiful, rather. Log cabins are similar. The one thing about a log cabin is that if you're not 100% accurate, when you get done and the block's supposed to be 14.5.
Yeah.
And it's more like 14.25. You can square all of them up to 14.25, and
So you'll have to modify your pattern a little bit to accommodate that, but it's doable.
Yeah.
Again, completely manageable. Where this all stems from is a couple of times this week I've seen this conversation about accuracy. One is actually from a Facebook group that I'm in. It's a men quilting group. So, and this individual is actually not even in this country, so it's okay. I can talk about him. I'm sure he won't mind.
Right.
I'm not naming him by name, but anyway, new quilter. He's been doing a lot of patchwork quilts. They never line up particularly well, and he's not really sure why. He's been using a wooden template he's cut out for himself and his circular knife, as he phrased it.
Like a rotary cutter?
I believe that's the actual term that we're used to using, but So again, there's this whole newness factor. So he was wondering what he needs to do to make things work better.
Sure.
Because he'll cut things and things aren't working right, and should I take that out in the seam when I stitch stuff together? I am really glad the guy asked the question, honestly. Because how many of you have ever pieced something together and you're like, I don't know why this isn't working out right? Who's been new at this before?
I mean, all of us, right?
I mean, I had to start somewhere. I mean, I know I'm a expert piecer now, and I'm probably the best ever.
Whatever. Yeah, you are.
But I do know what a rotary cutter is, so I can kind of make my way through things. But there's a lot of things that you can do to kind of keep
Sorry, this
accuracy.
iron is not wanting to stay on.
Oh, just throw it. That's what I do.
Staying on now.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's fine. There's a lot of things you can do for accuracy, or several things, steps you can take to make sure everything works out properly.
Right.
Another question or conversation I had this week was a customer was talking about how she's been working on these 100 blocks.
Yeah.
Which are small. They're 6-inch, 6.5-inch blocks.
Right.
And just being off by a sliver of a thread.
Right.
And is that going to be okay? Ready to throw the whole thing out and start over? No, you don't need to do that. It's not that dire.
No.
You don't have to do that either. Right. So you could be on either end of the spectrum. Don't matter. I'll just throw it together. Or, oh my gosh, if it's not perfect, what do I do?
Right.
It's all manageable. All manageable.
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Because remember, this is a hobby.
It's a hobby. This
and we're
is
having fun.
We're having fun.
And this is not that stressful.
It shouldn't be. If you're finding it is, take a deep breath, drink some wine. I mean, this is coffee.
I think that there's, you also want to know why it's not working out.
Right.
What am I missing here that's making it so that this is
not getting as clean as you want it to be.
Right.
Because we always see those pictures of all these beautifully pieced quilts with all these points and everything lines up perfect. And how do you do that?
So someone says we keep freezing up and she can't find the YouTube channel.
Well, it's cold here, Lisa. I'm sorry.
No, it's not cold here.
I don't know why the freezing up is happening. Who knows why that is. But I do believe I clicked up in the description of this video, the YouTube. It's basically youtube.com/Warm N Cozy Quilting. That'll take you to our channel. And then there you should be able to find our live video. It's there. Like I said, it's not everybody. It's not all the time. Sometimes who knows what the reason is. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Oh no. Well, here's the thing. Even if something happens and you can't hear my response, all these can be rewatched on YouTube anytime. That's why we do it to YouTube, so you can go back and watch it easier instead of trying to find it in the Facebook feed. Because let's be honest, that's not fun.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So just remember, the whole point of this, though, is to have fun. We are not telling you with this conversation of accuracy that you're doing it wrong. Please stop. But if you want to bring your game up a little bit and try to make things a little cleaner, so that way when you get those points to match and they look like you were professionally doing it, you get that, now I'm a professional. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
Right.
All right. So first and foremost, it really starts with the fabric from the very beginning. Before you cut your first piece of fabric.
Right.
You want to tell them the secret?
Well, my secret is starch.
Starch.
I like to use starch, and the reason that I do use starch is that it makes my fabric stiffer. And then it doesn't give as much. It's not as pliable, which means I'm going to be able to get more accurate because I don't have things moving around on me.
Right.
So that's first and foremost.
I like
to me.
To think so.
And not everyone uses starch.
Not everybody.
That's okay.
And that's okay. You have to find what works for you. But if you're a pre-washer,
right,
or you were taught to pre-wash and that's how you learn, and you don't starch, that's fine. It's not the end of the world.
Right. But I feel like if you do pre-wash, then you really need to use starch because you're going to have a very soft piece of fabric.
Yeah.
Versus, you want something that has a little bit of structure.
At least a little bit of structure. At least something with some consistent, not moving a whole lot. It helps things a little bit there.
There are things like, first of all, batiks tend to not be, they tend to not stretch as much anyway. So sometimes working with a particular type of fabric is nice versus like flannel is going to give on you a lot. It's going to have a lot more stretch to it, a lot more give to it.
Yeah.
And so then you can be a little bit off on your piecing. So, next.
Oh, next. Sorry. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Anyway, starch was the main conversation before you even start cutting. If you're working with pre-cuts, don't starch those. But if you're working with yardage, starch that.
Don't starch pre-cuts. You can't. Okay, the only you can starch I feel like everything I say is a contradicting thing to the last thing that
Welcome
I just
to
said.
quilting, where everything is not a set rule.
Right. So I starched pre-cuts last week.
What?
Yeah. So
who are you? Where's Danielle?
It was a 10-inch pack of blocks.
Yeah.
And the pattern, you started with a 9.5-inch block.
Okay.
So I was able to starch because I had to start with 9.5 inches anyway.
Trim it down anyway, so that works. Okay, right. Makes sense.
But even still, there was some of those blocks that I didn't have a full 9.5 inches sometimes. So it was a little bit of when they're supposed to be a 10-inch block. Anyway, when they're pinking sheared on the edges and all that stuff, all these things can make a little bit of an issue for you. Okay. So, back quarters, you can starch those all day long because you are not going to work with an 18 by 20 inch piece. Like most of the time, your block isn't going to start with, okay, cut the 18-inch block. You're going
to work with a 14 by 14 square. No,
right. I mean, you can usually get away. I've never found a problem with starching fat quarters.
Right.
So, but other than that, 2.5-inch strips that have been pinking sheared on the edge, you really don't want to be starching them. You're going to lose some of that fabric.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that you're going to do ahead of time before you even start cutting, press your fabric. Right. All right. If you've never taken a piece of fabric that had a crease in it and cut across it and then pulled it across, like looked at it, that fold will cause some awful situation in your fabric. So press it so it's nice and flat. You don't want any creases or anything like that getting in your way when you start cutting because it will cause nothing but headache for you. So
there's going to be times here in a minute where we're going to say, press, not iron. Don't use steam so much, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
When I have a full piece of fabric, I haven't cut anything yet, doesn't matter. You could iron it. You can steam it. You can do whatever you want because we haven't cut anything yet. Once you have cut things, though, then you don't want to be,
adding to that.
Iron. You want to press. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just wanted to clear that up. Yes.
Right.
During this process of getting that yardage off the bolt, you want to get a crease out of it. You can definitely use steam at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, all preparatory. Get it ready. Get
that fabric ready to cut.
Do the thing. Very important. But once it's prepped, you don't have to prep it anymore. It's already prepped. All right. So once you've got everything prepped, you've pressed it, you've starched it if you're going to starch it, or you washed it, whatever, you're ready to go. Now it comes down to cutting.
Right.
All right. When you go to cut, you always want to cut straight.
Yeah.
Straight is really useful.
Right.
By cutting straight, you're typically going to be using a ruler, which I did not bring in here because I failed. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is my circular knife.
There's no...
I think I walked out of the room with it because, well, I used it.
Oh, right.
Dumb.
Okay.
Both of them I walked out of here with. Can you believe that? I know.
I could get up and get one.
So disappointed in myself. No, I don't need it. It's not necessary.
They understand what a ruler is.
They know what a ruler is.
You know what a ruler is? Okay, good.
All right. So when you go to cut your fabric, typically when we're cutting, especially working squares and rectangles, you want to really cut it straight of grain, which would be, selvage to selvage, or cross grain, which runs parallel to your selvage.
Right.
Right? If you're cutting like just at any random angle, you're going to introducing what's known as bias.
Right.
Which is diagonally across, which has a whole lot of give, which is dangerous because things can shift a whole lot easier while you're piecing.
Right.
So, avoid cutting on the bias unless you have to. There's triangles that come into play.
I mean, you have to cut on the bias a lot.
But if you're new to this and you're just cutting out squares, use that selvage as your this way or this way. Try not to cut other random squares. All right. Rotary cutters. If you're cutting your fabric with a pair of scissors, I applaud you. However,
yikes.
These were invented back in the 80s by Olfa. Right. This is actually Martelli. This is a different version of that. But we've had them for 40 years now. And if you're using scissors to cut, you're doing just no service to yourself.
Accuracy is going to be...
It's going to be what it is.
I cannot cut with scissors. Maybe you cut really well with scissors. I don't want to...
Again, I'm not telling you your method's wrong. I'm just saying...
There are things like if you're cutting out an applique piece and you need a curve and you need to get in and out of things, there's times when you can be a lot more accurate
Right.
with scissors.
Oh, for sure.
Where there's a nice point and you can get into that.
Right.
So.
Scissors will do better for you than a rotary cutter will.
Right.
But otherwise, pardon me. Wow. It's like I got a head cold still.
Right.
Anyway, ignore me. So, no, don't ignore me. I'm talking. Very important. Some really important tips to use when you're using a rotary cutter.
Yes.
Number 1, use proper posture while you're cutting. If you're sitting here like this, cutting, you're not going to do as well as you think you're going to do.
Right, right.
Just you know.
Look, you're off the screen.
If your head is off the table, you can't see what you're cutting. So, again, ergonomically speaking, you want your arm in the proper place so that way you can cut accordingly.
Absolutely.
Sharp blade. Please stop being frugal. If you haven't changed your blade in 8 years you sew every day, stop it.
Yeah.
Just get a new blade. Because it's going to cut cleaner. It's going to be more accurate because you're not going to have to go back over it 16 times.
Exactly. And when you have to go back over something, that's when mistakes can happen.
That's when mistakes can happen.
This is also a really good time for you to cut yourself.
Don't do that.
When you have a dull blade and you're getting after it.
That's how
and
things
you get
slip.
Frustrated.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. When you're using your rotary cutter, you want to make sure that blade stays perpendicular to your mat. If you're going at it like this, I hope you can see that angle change there.
Yeah.
This is going to cut nice and clean. If you're like this, you could slip underneath the edge of that ruler.
Sure. Which
could really adjust or affect the cutting that you're trying to go for, that 2.5 inch. Now you're at like 2 3/8.
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Straight up, flush against the ruler. I'm not going to cut because this is not a ruler, and this is also a wool mat. I'm not going to cut that.
Right. But you get the idea.
You want to be up against it.
Right.
And roll nice and easy. Okay?
Yes.
Then, last but not least,
don't do it when you're in a hurry.
Don't be in a hurry. Don't do it while you're mad.
Don't do it when you're mad.
Do not cut mad. Please don't do that. Put it down, walk away, come back.
Right.
Your husband just made you mad because he's decided to make dinner out of SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
Put the razor blade down.
Right.
The circular knife down. Step outside.
Walk away.
Go to the grocery store. Because if he's making dinner out of SpaghettiOs, somebody has neglected a shopping requirement. So, right. And last but not least, keep your fingers out of it.
Yes.
Your fingers are not part of this equation. Please just keep them safely to the side.
Yeah.
Please. When it comes to your rulers, and you're going to be cutting,
right,
you want to make sure you're using adequate pressure to hold the ruler in place, but you don't want to be like, dear God, pressing down with everything in your being.
Right.
Because if something starts to move, it's really easy to slip way out of the way. So that's bad.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I got some distance. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It's cool. What were you going to say?
I don't remember.
Okay, good story.
Be consistent. Use the same ruler.
That was actually the next step is the measuring also. So I guess you could use it for cutting. Use the same ruler that you normally would. Don't change rulers midstream because
whatever you're going to use for measurement, you need to be consistent with. So if you're going to use, I don't necessarily recommend that you use your mat for cutting. And the reason that for measuring, the reason is that the stripe here, the markings on your mat are a little bit fatter.
They are.
So being to the inside of the line or being to the outside of the line can be a different measurement.
They sure can.
So you have to be very consistent with, I'm going to stay to the inside of that line. I'm inside,
Right.
Like, and that will be helpful. But generally I say measure with your ruler.
Yeah.
Measure with your ruler. Your mat's just there as a guide.
So you don't cut into your table.
This is why I think that all mats should be blank.
I think all mats should have a very low volume side to them. If not completely blank, low volume.
Right.
Creative Grids does a really good job if they have the smaller one is blank. Their slightly larger ones have a grid, but it's not measurement
It doesn't
grid.
have all of the little
It's not all the chaos that's going on. So it makes it a lot easier to flip that over and then use your ruler on that.
Yeah.
Because again, when you're using, like you were saying, not all measuring devices are the same.
Right.
Even if within brands.
So an inch should be an inch should be an inch.
Should be. But again, like you said, depending on where that line is it to the inside, to the outside, or down the very center of that?
Right.
Whatever you do, if you're going to use your mat.
Right.
And you're going to cut to the inside of that grid line as your 15-inch mark, then every time you cut, make sure you're to the inside of that line.
Exactly.
If you're not using your mat, make sure you're using your ruler. Make sure your ruler's nice and stable. And do everything to keep it where it should be. That's going to do you a lot more favors than anything.
Yeah.
All right.
There's some other tricks too with like if you use a weight to put on the end of your.
I saw this. Somebody brought in a weight, a 10-pound weight.
Yeah, to put at the end of your. If you have a long 24-inch ruler and you're cutting little pieces or you're doing things, it is nice to. Or you got to go that whole 24 inches, right?
Right.
By the time, like, it's hard to walk your hand down the ruler, right?
It is hard.
If you keep that, and also then you're having to, it's shoulder pressure and elbow. Maybe you've got a little bit of arthritis in your joints, and it's so nice to have a long ruler, put the weight on the end. I'm still going to put some pressure here. That way everything stays nice and smooth all the way to the end.
Right. Not a bad idea. Again, keeping that consistent weight on the ruler so it doesn't shift, even midway, being aware of that. Again, not crazy pressure. You don't have to, like, dear Lord, don't ever move.
Right.
But, keep it stable. So that's the preparing your fabric, cutting your fabric. Take those steps.
Right.
That's going to help you in the next step for accuracy, which is the sewing of it all.
Right.
Because I noticed somebody asked about pressing your seams. We're going to get to that.
Right.
Mary, we will. I
promise.
Yeah. What's up?
I just saw it now.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So you've got it all cut. You've laid it out. You've measured and made sure that it's 2.5 inches. That's what it's supposed to be, right?
Right.
So your fabric squares are now what they're supposed to be. But now we have to get them to stay that
together,
size
right?
And do the thing and make it all square together and perfect.
So I talk about the sew straight frequently.
Yes.
But okay, so you need a true 1/4 inch. That's what you need. So sometimes we have a machine that has a 1/4 inch foot, so we put that on. Now the 1/4 inch foot is a guide. That blade is a guide. Okay, and that just means that you still have to figure out where that 1/4 inch is.
Yes.
Do I need to have my fabric up against that blade? Or do I need to be writing nearby? What is the measurement that's going to get me the best result? Okay. So there's different things. This has a nice guide on it and you can put that on the base of your machine. And then you have a long way to travel where you've got that same consistent 1/4 inch the entire time.
Right. So I'm going to show you some pictures that I took of some seams that we sewed.
Okay.
Just to give you a visual. So, because I was going to do this, but you can't see that from here. So I'm going to help you out.
Yeah.
So first off, if your seams look like this, I'm referring to this as the not a seam 1/4 inch. Because if you notice, it goes and waves itself across there in a nice curvy fashion. You really want
in and out.
You want your seams to be straight.
Right.
If you're sewing along,
it's easy for that to happen, though.
It's so easy for that to happen. If your feed dogs if you have not had your machine serviced and cleaned and your feed dogs are packed with lint, they're not functioning fully anymore. So
if you have a dull needle.
It
can be, you need to change your needles. You need to clean your machine. These are all things that we have to do if we want to be consistent.
Right.
I love my Janome because when I put my 1/4 inch foot on, I also have to move the needle, and then I ride across all of the feed dogs. I'm not riding across half the feed dogs, and these are still trying to feed on this side, which is pulling my fabric and and I now am working against the machine.
Right.
My fabric is all across the entire set of feed dogs and is going nice and smooth.
Right.
I can 1/4 inch with no hands. Not that I do that,
right?
But I could.
You could. So the other thing I've noticed with that instance is when you have that not straight line seam, the reason that tends to happen is if you're not using, say you don't use leaders. I've learned that I like using leaders because when I just put my fabric up to that and start sewing, if the feed dogs kind of grab a hold of my fabric, that front corner, it can kind of pull it down, which kind of pulls it in a way, which gives me that wrong starting point. It's not a straight, clean seam. So if you start with a leader, you're going to go straight across onto your new fabric, your piecing stuff. You're going to just go in a nice straight line. That's going to help a lot.
Right.
So leaders are very useful. If you don't already use them, you can do without. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
I always use a leader. And I do not. So then there are people who make quilts out of their leaders.
There are people that make quilts out of their leaders.
And I'm like, my leader consists of a piece of.
Could you imagine trimming all those threads to do that?
Yeah, it's a piece of selvage from the trash that I cut. I've got a small little square.
Yes.
It was trash anyway. I don't care. I sew on it about 1,000. Okay, right. At least 50 times before I throw that away.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I lose it, I don't care.
Doesn't matter. Just grab another piece of fabric from somewhere. Right. So that was your not a seam 1/4 inch seam. Right. Those, if you're doing that, it's time to work on that skill a little bit.
Right. Just work on being consistent.
The next one. Now, with this image, what you're looking at is I put a ruler across here. There's a pink line that runs just above the left side of that seam. And then on the right side of that, you notice that pink line is pretty much right across that seam. I laid this across there so we could get a kind of visual idea of what a 1/4 inch looks like on the right side versus a fat 1/4 inch, which means it's just outside of that 1/4 inch seam. So if your seams are larger than a 1/4 inch, you're taking up more fabric than you should be expecting to be taken up.
Right.
Okay. The other side of that conversation is the scant 1/4 inch.
Right.
Which is this guy here. Which, as you can see, on the left side is the normal 1/4 inch. You're right at a 1/4 inch there. On the right-hand side, you can see that seam is just above my 1/4 inch mark.
I wish you'd have left a space between.
I should have left a space there. I didn't really leave a very good space.
That's okay. But you can see, just above that 1/4 inch mark. So that's going to be slightly less.
Just slightly less.
Now, let me tell you, I got some folks in the back right now, I'm sure, that are going, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
Wait. That's not how Danielle told us to measure to see if you have a 1/4 inch. So we wanted to show you a visual of how to kind of see that. But a true way to test if you have a good 1/4 inch or not is to get yourself some 2.5 inch squares. So 2.5 inch squares together, then press it however you want to press. Okay. If you are a person who, I make sure it's on and then I talk and then.
It should be fairly warm still, though.
If you press your seams open, then press this open. If you're going to press to one side or the other, press to one side or the other, okay? Doesn't matter to me how you press, and you just need to do what works for you, okay?
So what did you just do just now?
Oh.
That was a fun little trick that you kind of just glossed over.
I'm setting the seam.
And what does that mean?
Which means that I'm getting the thread hot, and I'm telling the thread, this is where you live.
Okay.
Also, we hadn't pressed this fabric, which we told them to press before, but anyway. So I was like, maybe I need to just
I also wasn't using good posture while I cut it. I was laying lazily to the side.
He was laying like that. He had his head off the table.
It was awful.
Okay. So I should be pressing, not ironing.
Yes,
I tend to.
We know. We ain't telling you, though. Don't listen to that.
So then I'm going to finger press because I want my seam to go towards the dark.
Okay.
So I'm going to press this way, and then I'm going to take my iron and press.
Yep. And I've heard that people will take, heavy-weighted books then at this point and lay on top of there as well, or the clapper is a good one to use for flattening things out and whatnot, what have you.
So even when I go like this, I am not pressing down until I get here, and then I press.
Right, you're just kind of like laying it to the side to make sure it doesn't try to jump
I'm kind of helping, my fabric not, and then I do that.
So when it comes to this whole pressing blocks, do you do this with every block that you've seamed together?
Yes.
So it's slow and tedious is what you're telling me?
Yes, but I don't care.
But it's going to look great when it's done.
That's part of the fun.
That's part of the fun.
As far as I'm concerned. Some people really don't like to press. Some people really don't like to cut. I think you have your part that you like and part that you don't like.
Yeah. I personally don't really like all the small, tedious part
The pressing does not bother me. So, like, squaring things up after. So, I don't like to have to sit and square everything up. That is tedious to me.
Yeah.
But what I have found is if I do that along the way as I'm going, that's much better. So take those things that you don't like and do them in chunks, right?
Right.
So do not leave yourself until the end and you have 82 blocks that all need to be squared up. and you
You're gonna
hate
be so
squaring up,
mad.
you are not going to do it. You're not going to do it until next week, and you're going to be frustrated. So, if you are a person who doesn't like to press, do it a little bit at a time. Sew and then press. Sew and then press. Don't sew, and now I got to press a whole bunch of things. Figure out
That's my method. I'll just do everything I like to do, and then I have all the things I don't want to do.
And then he leaves it in my way. Then he leaves it in my way.
No, I don't. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
okay, it happens.
Okay, so now...
So you've pressed them. You're measuring things underneath here.
Okay. So then we had 2.5 and 2.5. That equals 5, right?
What now?
I got 2.5 and 2.5. That equals 5, right?
I thought it was 10. That's 5.
But I took a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch.
You did.
Which is a half.
Yes.
So this unit now needs to measure at 4.5.
It does need to. And does it?
It does.
Oh my goodness.
So now, and this is actually the scant one. So it's just slightly over.
Just slightly fatter than a 4.5.
Yep. Where this one, see, this is a goofy seam.
That might have been the fat one.
And so it is fine here and not fine there.
Oh, I wish I had a little bit closer on that for you guys to see. Because it really is just by like a smidgen of a thread bigger or smaller. That worked out really well. That was cool. I like that.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Anyway, this is
the Dayquil's gotten to her, guys. Anyway, it does make a difference. You all right there? Don't let it win.
This mat is really great. It's a wool mat on one side.
Are you selling this? No, we're out of these currently.
Right, and a cutting mat on this side. What you don't want to do is put your iron
to
this side.
No.
I did that this week.
Did you really?
Maybe the head cold.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. So, yeah, so you do want to press it.
Diane said she loves starching and leaders.
It really does help.
Those things help.
And Donna loves the 5-pound weight with holding
right.
How can you go wrong with that as well? Again,
definitely
all these little tips help a lot. Not telps. Sorry.
Okay, so I got this weird seam. And it didn't work out, and so I should throw everything away and never quilt again?
Boy, what are you saying to me right now? Because I don't think I understand what you're saying to me. So you're saying we've got, where's my one? Atrociousness.
Oh, here's atrocious.
Oh, give me atrociousness back. So if I've got a seam that's not a 1/4 inch seam, can I work with this? Is that what you're asking me? Because I've seen quilts come in the door with seams like this, of course you can work with this. Is it going to get you...
It'll quilt out.
It'll quilt out, sort of. Will it get you...
Mary, a scant 1/4 inch.
Yes, we'll explain the scant 1/4 inch again. Absolutely. I didn't really explain it very well. So I showed you the image. But what does that mean?
I really do not like things that are ambiguous.
Yes.
But scant is one of those.
It is. It's
ambiguous
not a
terms.
Defined. Absolutely, this is how you get a scant every time.
So a scant 1/4 inch means a few threads more or less. A few threads less than a 1/4 inch. So you do not want to be at an 1/8. You do not want to be at a 1/4. And I'm sure there's a measurement in between that we could measure to.
I mean, 3/8 would be the next. I mean, we'd actually be talking 16ths. Like,
right.
Just under that 1/4, actually not 3/8, I was wrong.
Right, you went too big.
I went too big. Just under a 1/4 inch, like literally 2 threads. It's going to be like...
And you're like, how do I tell what 2 threads are?
Doing this.
Right.
Sew your blocks together, press them out.
And then
measure it.
Then you mark your machine. That's where I need to be. Or you now know, I need to ride right next to that blade.
Right.
I need to be... There needs to be a little bit of space.
A little bit of hair.
Between my fabric and the blade. I need to be able to see metal, and I know that I'm good. Like, you need to determine what works on your machine the best.
Right.
So.
I think the important thing to know, too, is that this is not you're going to do it once and you have it understood. You've got it figured out. Oh, my gosh. You're going to have to do, this is test fabric. We've sewn these together multiple times to try to find out where that is.
The thing is, I move my machine. I bring my machine to the shop. I take it back home. Yeah, I'm still using my same 1/4 inch. But, like, if I've changed needles, if I'm working on a project now that has flannel and it's fatter fabric, or I'm using a heavier weight thread, the thread takes up a little bit of space in there.
It does.
So we need to account for that. So just by measuring, like we were showing you the pictures earlier, by measuring that way, that's not really giving you a true explanation. You know, you don't see truly what size this is. It's a good indicator, but then you really do need to press it and measure the unit and make sure that you are at least at the 4.5.
Right.
If your pattern is calling for a scant 1/4 inch, then you need to be just, like you said, just a hair more.
Really a smidgen more. It's, again, I do understand that understanding it's tough, because let's be honest, what this ends up being is a conversation of gray area.
Right, exactly. And I don't like that.
No, not everybody loves that. So I came from a business line where everything was gray area.
Yeah, not me.
Maybe it's not bad. It's probably not great. Don't eat that. But we'll tell you, it's okay to be inside the house.
You have to now explain.
I come from an environmental consulting background. This is where I was for 15 years, environmentally stuff. Anyway, gray area everywhere. It's all gray. There's no regulation that says you can't do that.
And I am very mathematically...
Black and white. It has to be this or it has to be that. Very literal. So scant is that ambiguous. Just don't follow that. You got a 1/4 inch seam foot. Don't smash the fabric up against it.
Right.
Just right alongside of it. It's just a guide.
Right.
Do this a few times. Take out a ruler and measure.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you start piecing on your fabric, you're going to stop and you're going to measure. You're going to check these things until you get familiar with where that feels like. And even as you go through, years of doing this, you're still going to want to check that occasionally to make sure you're getting it right.
So then you're going to piece these together. You're going to then add this other piece on, and you're going to go, okay, now this is my 6-inch block. Measure and make sure that it is before you go to the next step, so that you're not 3 steps in and going, oh man, that seam does look a little bit fat. I should have been from the beginning doing something slightly different.
Right.
So knowing ahead of time, and then as you're going, kind of checking yourself is going to be helpful. All of this to say, we still want this to be fun.
You do. We want it to be fun. Absolutely.
So you also have to know what level you are okay with.
Right.
Things being good-ish. You know what I'm saying?
And again, good-ish is a personal preference thing, really. I mean, are you happy with what you're getting? If you're content with what's going on in your piecing world, that's totally fine. If you're bringing it to me to long arm quilt it, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Right.
It's what makes you happy. But if you're looking to get to that point where your points and your stars are perfectly where they should be.
I keep making these stars and I keep cutting off the points, and I don't like that. There are some people who make a star and they cut off the point and they don't care.
Right.
Because it is fun and they've enjoyed the entire process.
That's about it.
That is great. Then their quilt is totally wonderful to them and perfectly
works well.
Yeah.
It does its job.
Then
that's the whole point.
There are people who are like, I made this star. This is the first time I've ever made a star, and I lost a point, and now I'm never going to quilt again. And I'm like, no, hold on. Let's see what's going on, and let's see where I can help you. And maybe we can get the next star to actually have a point. And by the way, this one little block within your quilt is not going to make or break the quilt.
Right.
So let's keep moving. There have been so many quilts that I did not like until they were all the way done. And then I'm like, I don't even see that little tiny bit that I was fussing about, right? Nobody needs a fuss
sometimes. Again, find out what works for you. You're going to check, you're going to measure. The other thing that can come from doing a scant 1/4 inch, if that's what the pattern calls for, is that if that's supposed to be a 4.5 inch block and you're just a hair over, what that gives you the ability to do is to square up.
Right.
Which means that you're going to square it up by cutting off the excess so that you have exactly 4.5. As you build your quilt and you're going for precision, you can square up the whole way through and get exactly what you should have by the end of that project. Again, super time consuming, super tedious, but that's what this is. This is quilting. We're going for the perfection. If that's what you're going for, if you're just having fun, that's fine. You don't have to do all that.
Carla says she strives for perfection, but seldom achieves it. So,
right.
And that's, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And coming from Carla, who does amazing work, she's so modest. I love her. She's fun that way.
Yeah. But, you know, the other thing that too sometimes happens is we go scant and then we put the next piece on and then we were scant and now our piece ends up being slightly larger. And we still need to make the next piece fit in there.
Right.
So sometimes you don't want to be too scant. Sometimes that can happen too. Right. Where you're like, oh my gosh, now I've made this and it's not going to fit either. Well, then we can square up like you just said.
Going for that whole, whatever you do it consistently. So if you piece like this, then consistently piece like this, and that's fine. If you consistently piece at an exact 1/4 inch, totally fine. Again, as long as the pattern calls for that. Just know that, plan for that accordingly, and just work with it. It's fine. You don't have to tear it all out and start over again and start from scratch. There's no need for that. What's your rule of thumb on tearing out?
You can rip twice. You can sew 3 times.
Okay.
After that 3rd time, I've now sewn this together 3 times and it still isn't right, I need to then go somewhere along the line. I've usually gone, did I even cut that right? You know, if I've already ripped out once, I'm going to be measuring again. But did I cut it right? If you begin ripping a 3rd time, your fabric is damaged.
Right.
It depends on how big of a piece you have and things like that, that you definitely do not want to rip out a 3rd time and try sewing again. Now we're on 4th time. We're putting holes in it as we go. We're taking it back out. We're putting it back in. All these things. You've stressed this fabric. Either cut a new piece or that 3rd time, and I'm like, you know what? It's just going to be.
Right.
And then I move forward.
Absolutely. So the last and final thing in the accuracy conversation is the nesting part of it. So you've pieced your basic materials together. Now you need to put it together with another one of its partners so everything lines up. This one's not pressed. Nesting. I don't have an image for this, but we've got...
So we've pressed to the dark on both times, right? Press to the dark, press to the dark. So now I'm going, when I put them together, they're the opposite, right? So my seams are going opposite and opposite. You
can see that or not.
And
but they go about opposite directions. And what you can do is when you put that together, you can feel basically that thread on both pieces comes together and the fabric doesn't want to shift.
Right.
This is nesting. We use Wonder Clips. I'm going to put one right on that intersection, like so. If you're a pinner, I'd put one at 45 across that seam to hold it. And then the rest of your pins, if you want to put one, across here and one in here, just to really hold the fabric firm.
Right.
That would be a good way to go about that. Then as you sew along, you're working that fabric in, taking your pins out as you go. When you get to here, you're going to take that out at the very last second and sew across that. And when you open that up, you're going to get a perfect intersection of where the fabrics meet.
Very, very nice.
Very nice. It's nice and clean. But again, it takes some practice to get there.
I'm constantly looking at the pattern and trying to figure out how I can make things nest.
Right.
I didn't know about that process. And one of the very first quilts that I made, it was telling me to press one way or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh no, I'm going to press to whichever piece is dark.
Right.
And then I got further into the pattern and realized, oh, they wanted me to do that because now everything's going to nest together. And since I didn't press that way, it wasn't going to happen for me.
Right.
So I learned either read the whole pattern, understand what's going on, or just follow the directions of what they say.
That helps.
Sometimes the pattern writer knows more than I do.
And yeah, because the other thing is they've put the pattern again to make it easier. And if it's going to be on several pieces of material coming together, it's going to make a bulky seam. They may have pressing directions so that way it nests well, and then it doesn't give you a large piece of bulk that you're going to
right in one place.
So
yeah,
very important to know how that works and why you would do it that way. So anyway, that's probably the last and most important part of it. Not to forget that 50 weight thread or a thinner thread is lighter weight thread is going to help your seams be a little more accurate. All the things, all the tricks, all the stuffs. Yeah. But that's the biggest part of it. And then practice. Keep on trying, keep on doing what you can.
Here's some other things that maybe will help you. Slow down.
Slow down.
If you are coming up with things like this that are, whoa, let's try slowing down. So my machine, of course, I sew with a foot pedal, but I can, and my foot is always to the floor. So I've had to adjust the speed control here,
max speed,
because I need my max speed, because I need somebody else to do a little bit more of a better job of control than I have on the foot pedal.
Right.
I do know I have several friends who sew with their shoe off because they can feel that foot pedal a little better, and they get a lot better control that way. Whatever works for you. But first of all, slow down. So try that. See if that helps you to be, and just sew a piece and go, yeah, that seam stays more straight.
Right. And it really does make a difference. If you're going super fast and something shifts, like you'll bobble in that seam could play a factor in it and the way things come together. So
we really don't want to be pulling on our fabric. This is, we're being counterproductive to what needs to happen. So, just take your time. And I think that we'll all have better results if we just slow down a little.
Right. Absolutely. So I think that's really some of the biggest tips that we can give you for being accurate in your piecing. Again, it's not all about perfection all the time.
No.
Let's be honest. People that started quilting and doing this stuff years and years ago, perfection wasn't the thing. They were hand quilting. They were chopping stuff up with scissors or tearing it, whatever they had at hand to make things work. So nothing was made to be perfect. We don't have to do it now. Don't watch, all the people like, I can't think of anybody specifically right now that does amazingly perfect work all the time.
Right.
You don't have to be that person. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not that person, even though I am the guy, the quilting guy.
The quilting guy.
The guy with all the answers. I still don't piece perfectly, so just do your best with what you got.
Right.
And if you got questions, you're always welcome to come in and ask us. That's what we do around here.
Me too, Eileen.
What's that? What's Eileen say?
Pedal to the metal.
Hey.
I also feel like if I go really fast, the fabric doesn't have time
doesn't have a chance
to
jump
move
out of the way. So it's going to go.
I kid. But really, I'm like, if I can go really fast, then maybe it'll stay straight.
I can stitch 1,600 stitches per minute. I'm going. I bought a Ferrari. I'm driving it like a Ferrari.
Right.
I mean, that's cool. Whatever works. Don't let me tell you how to live your life. So that said, if you don't have any other questions, what we're going to do is I'm going to let you know that we do have Monday flash sale. So every Monday on the website, Danielle puts something on sale. Go check it out this Monday. Starts at 9 a.m., runs all day on the website.
Yeah.
Wednesday live sale here on the Facebooks.
Fabric TV.
You had some really pretty new fabrics in on the sale before they even went to the sale floor.
Yep.
Now, if you come in, you're going to have to pay the price. Sorry, guys. But Wednesdays, worth checking out, 6 p.m. here on the Facebook Lives. And then every Saturday morning we do this.
Right.
Which is fun. If you guys have questions or have a topic that you would really love to hear or know more about that we somehow haven't covered, don't be afraid to let us know. I'm always open for suggestions.
Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of information that we're kind of going back through a little bit just to make sure it goes to the YouTube channel instead of all Facebook. But if you have a topic that you personally really want to know more about, let me know.
We'd love to hear it.
Love to hear about it. So I think at this point, though, I don't have much more. We're open today at 11. We're here till 4.
Right.
Come by and see us.
Well, we'll be here till 10.
Well, we'll be here till 10 p.m. with the Super Sew
Hanging
weekend.
out with our friends. Sewing.
Super Sew. It's going to be far more fun than that weird game with guys throwing things and trying to break legs. I don't know. Whatever. The commercial game. The game with all the commercials.
The game with the commercials. Yeah.
Anyway. Where I was going with that. Oh my gosh, before I forget, Handy Quilter. You need a Handy Quilter in your life. You're getting a free sewing machine with Handy Quilters this month. By the way, incredible deal. You have questions, come talk to me. I'll help you out on that.
Sounds good.
Anyway, I'm done. I'm going out of here. We're going to go work. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Bye.